Hello fight fans, thanks for joining us at MMA Insider. Before we get rolling with today's news, show some love by hitting that like button and subscribing. Now let's uncover the latest happenings in MMA. Starting off, Francis Ngannou accuses boxing promoters of using dirty tactics to assist Anthony Joshua. Moving on, Belal Muhammad plans to torture Leon Edwards for 25 minutes at UFC 304. Next, Conor McGregor DMs Khabib Nurmagomedov, offers to buy his home amidst financial issues. Moving on, Tom Aspinall destroys complete bullshit UFC pound-for-pound rankings amidst Jon Jones, Islam Makhachev debate. Lastly, Paddy Pimblett unloads on ridiculous UFC 304 start time. Francis Ngannou is accusing boxing promoters of using dirty tactics to assist his most recent opponent, Anthony Joshua. Ngannou made his boxing debut in October of 2023 when he met and was defeated by Tyson Fury by split decision. The fighter in his second outing got in the ring with Anthony Joshua this past March. That fight ended in a KO victory for Joshua. The 37-year-old former UFC champion is now 0-2 in the ring. Francis Ngannou, speaking with Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan Experience, shared that he believes British boxing promoters plotted against him, saying, "Fight day, we receive an email. Pickup time, 10:30 from the hotel. And when they say 10:30, by 10:20 there's a car at your door waiting. The supposed fight time is between midnight to 1. We get to the arena at 10:45. A producer comes into the locker room, says, 'Oh guy, we are running late on the broadcast. Now we're gonna go around 1:45. I'm like, okay, 1:45, it's 10:45, 3 hours, okay. Concluding, while not blaming Joshua, Ngannou does believe the organization was at fault. Here is what he said. "Not to say Anthony Joshua couldn't beat me. I think if there's somebody that you can lose against, he's the guy. He's one of the best doing it. This is definitely not on him, because he wasn't the guy that was sending all those emails, organizing. So I'm not blaming him for anything. But the organization, they did quite some stuff that wasn't fair. Those were the people that were sending the schedule, and every day they send everything, the pickup time, the program, the schedule." Francis Ngannou is currently preparing for his PFL debut this coming October, where he will battle Renan Ferreira. What do you think of Ngannou's accusations against boxing promoters? Share your thoughts in the comment section. Belal Muhammad says he'd rather beat Leon Edwards for 25 minutes at UFC 304 than finish him, as he wants to prove how much better he is. Muhammad and Edwards are set to headline UFC 304 in Manchester, England for the welterweight title in an intriguing matchup. Going into the fight, Muhammad is the underdog, but he has full confidence he will be able to dominate Edwards and vows to torture him for 25 minutes. Here is what he said: "I want to torture him. I want him to realize how much better I am than him. When you go out there and get a finish, people are like, oh, you got lucky, you did this. It happened because of that. If I go out there and dominate him and beat him in all aspects of MMA, wrestling, grappling, striking, jiu-jitsu, get him to the point of making him want to quit. That is what I want. I want to torture him. I want him to the point of looking at his coaches and his coaches have nothing to say and they walk away because they're embarrassed. That is what I want him to feel like on Saturday night." If Belal Muhammad does dominate Leon Edwards for 25 minutes, as he says, it would be a statement-making performance to become the champion. It also would likely end any talk of having an immediate rematch, especially if he is to dominate in the fashion he suggests. Muhammad also wants to punish Edwards and his team for disregarding his winning streak. Here is what he said: "That's what's pushing me to hate the guy. That's what's making me excited to make him bleed, make him break." Belal Muhammad is 23-3-1 NC as a pro and is riding a 10-fight unbeaten streak and is coming off a lopsided win over Gilbert Burns. Conor McGregor isn't holding back from his ongoing attacks on Khabib Nurmagomedov amidst the Dagestani's financial woes. Khabib, since retiring from MMA in 2020, allegedly owes the Russian government millions in unpaid taxes. Things got even more difficult for him this week after bailiffs seized a fleet of vehicles in his name, totaling around 900 kilo in value. McGregor, who fell to Khabib in their heated clash at UFC 229, mocked Khabib this week after the news broke of his seized assets. He's ramping up the banter and took the trolling up front to Khabib. In a recent tweet, McGregor continued his barrage on Khabib's financial troubles. Here is what he said: "Brotha, I just put in to buy your family home off government because you can't afford. I plan on big smelly Irish. Brotha, I take big in your house. Brotha, you abandoned from family, and now I take your house for piss. Brotha, where is the toilet roll?" McGregor is planning on a UFC comeback later this year after withdrawing from UFC 303 due to a toe injury. He's expected to face Michael Chandler upon his return to the cage. Conor and Khabib had one of the most heated pre-fight buildups in UFC history ahead of their fight. Things haven't gotten better years after their pay-per-view headliner, and their banter continues to take a dark turn. Khabib entered the UFC Hall of Fame in 2022 alongside his longtime longtime friend and teammate Daniel Cormier. He walked away from the UFC following a win over Justin Gaethje at UFC 254 after the death of his father. Khabib is prohibited from leaving Russia amidst the ongoing seizure of his assets. He's not expected to be in Belal Muhammad's corner for UFC 304 this weekend. McGregor continues to push the envelope, and he isn't backing down from putting a spotlight on his former rival's troubles. Interim UFC heavyweight champion Tom Aspinall has a lot of questions and quarrels with the pound-for-pound rankings. Aspinall will make an unprecedented defense of his interim heavyweight title against Curtis Blaydes this Saturday in Manchester. He co-headlines UFC 304 8 months after securing the interim heavyweight belt by knocking out Sergey Pavlovich in November. Aspinall is undoubtedly one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world, but he lags behind fighters such as Jon Jones, the lineal heavyweight champion who hasn't fought since UFC 285. If Aspinall's recent press conference was any indication of how he feels, he's becoming increasingly disgusted by the UFC's pound-for-pound rankings. During his UFC 304 Media Day press conference, Aspinall concluded his availability by ripping the pound-for-pound rankings. Here's what he said: "What is this pound-for-pound bull? It's all rubbish. It just doesn't even make sense. Don't get me started on that shit. How can you have a pound-for-pound? Does that mean if everyone is the same size, how can you compare Demetrius Johnson's style to Brock Lesnar's style? Completely different attributes. I have a bulldog. It's like if my bulldog had a really long neck, it would win the giraffe of bulldogs. How can you compare it? It's a load of rubbish." UFC President Dana White sided with Jones instead of Makhachev for the UFC's pound-for-pound king discussion. He argues that Jones's career accolades should be considered in the debate. Aspinall could potentially top the UFC's pound-for-pound rankings at some point in his career. But for now, he considers the ranking system a sham. UFC star Paddy Pimblett has given his thoughts on UFC 304, taking place during a standard US pay-per-view. This weekend, Paddy Pimblett returns to action at UFC 304. He'll be going head-to-head with Bobby Green in a fight that, in the eyes of many, is the toughest of his career. When he does collide with Bobby, Paddy will be fighting at around 4 a.m. local time. That's because the promotion has opted to air this event in US primetime, as opposed to GMT, the time zone associated with the United Kingdom. In a recent interview, Paddy had some thoughts on this decision. Here is what he said: "I'll be fighting at about 4 a.m. It's ridiculous. In America, the main card starts at like 8 p.m., so I'd normally fight at about 9 or 10. It's an advantage for the American fighters. It's an advantage for Bobby Green, Belal Muhammad, and Curtis Blaydes because obviously they're coming over on their time. It's not like they're going to be jet-lagged. They're going to just do the same, but we've got to about with time frames and it's ridiculous." Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Your dedication and support fuel our passion to bring you the latest and greatest in the MMA world. If you enjoyed today's news, please give us a thumbs up and share it with fellow MMA fans. Remember to subscribe to stay in the loop with daily MMA updates. We've got a lot of exciting news, interviews, and analysis coming your way every single day. Your engagement helps us grow and serve the MMA community even better. Once again, thank you for being an integral part of our daily MMA journey.